Welcome back, Star Wars fans. My name is Logan Pedig, or Logan RMS on GEMP, and I am bringing you the fourth and final game in the top 8 of this year's charity event. This is going to be games 1 and 2 between Scott Lingrell and Ian Montieth. This year's charity event format was certainly very interesting. They decided to go with a retro format and do Premiere through Virtual Set 3, which is about the format around the time that 2015 Worlds took place. Now, it's not the same exact format because of things like erratas and card blankings and this and that, so it's a very unsolved meta, but definitely added for a lot of creativity and experimentation, especially during the day one, so to speak, where players played their qualifying games for this top 8. So we're going to be going over both games 1 and 2. Scott, as the higher seed, decided to start with Darkside. I have not watched either of these games, so we are going to be going over these together. So it looks like Scott's going to be on Agents of the Black Sun against Ian's Lightside Combat. Both of these decks were pretty popular during the time, just because a lot of the basic cards that came out for them were either printed in Decipher or came out in some of those early V-sets, such as Virtual Set 1 or 0, which is cards that came over from the reset, some new additions here and there from those Virtual Sets 1 and 2. Both were very strong decks during the time, and are still very strong decks. Not too much has changed regarding the cards around them. So Scott is doing an interesting start here. He's playing Twilight Advisor instead of the standard 3 effect start, so that he can start Presence of the Force on table and start the game flipped. Now, it's definitely very interesting because it starts the game with a lot more pressure on your opponent. Normally, you have to find your battleground and move Zizor over, reinforce him, and start that. But by starting Presence of the Force, it allows Scott to put damage on much faster and allowed him to start tracking. Because one of the beauty of the 7 side is once per turn, you may put a card from your hand on use pile to peek at your force pile. So Agents of Black Sun is a very, very thinking intensive deck because it forces you, or not forces you, but it allows you to have a lot of deck manipulation and tracking, which for a player as methodical as Scott can definitely be a very strong deck. Now, Ian playing combat, doing a pretty standard combat start. Walkling, Saitor, and another Pathetic Lifeform. Walkling just for the free activation and the retrieval later on in the game. Saitor to go get his weapons, and another Pathetic Lifeform just to get extra activation, as he's able to activate one for occupying his battleground sites on Scott's turn. So Scott's going to go in, he's going to pull his grabber, Secret Plans, with Walkling out, stopping the free retrieval is never a bad play. Ian pulls his grabber, and he pulls Battle Plan. Since Scott started at a battleground location, definitely the drain possibility is there, and Scott does go get Allegations of Corruption, his grabber. And this is what I was talking about. Scott is able to put a card down on his first turn to go peek at that force pile and see if there's anything worth taking, and starts the game by putting pressure on with damage. So Ian loses Speak from hand, which probably means he has the Jedi Council Chamber in hand. Scott deploys the Audience Chamber, and then because he's on the 7 side, peeks at the top card of his reserve deck, because he occupies one battleground, and then just draws. Definitely going to be interesting to see how this goes for Scott. Cards like Stunning Leader and Ceasefire are going to be pretty important, just because Ian's playing some big Jedi who are going to be able to swing lightsabers and put on a lot of pressure with a lot of power pretty efficiently too, with Saitor being able to go in and surge out those matching weapons. Now, interestingly enough, card that Scott is playing is Surprise is going to allow him to move that Presence of the Force, or potentially other effects, but probably the Presence of the Force, so that he can allow Ian to deploy into Zizor, stop the battle, and then move the effect and move Zizor. So definitely interesting possibilities there. Love to see Scott using cards that haven't seen a lot of play, just because of it's Scott, right? So going into Ian's turn, did open hand the JCC. Just going to go with Luke. So Luke does flip Scott back means he's not going to get any more free damage, and it looks like he missed the lightsaber. That's never what you want to see. Deploys the bionic hand, just adds to Luke's immunity, adds to his power. It's going to make him harder to get rid of. Scott goes and pulls the combat shield, just make it harder for Ian to get rid of some of those characters. Ian just ends up drawing the remaining cards, and Scott, using Force Push, goes and gets the Imperial Barrier, just making sure that Zizor has more protection. With Luke accounted for, it means there's definitely some less pressure, but you never want to risk it. Yep, and this is what we were talking about. Scott uses Surprise, moves Presence of the Force to Jedi Council Chamber. Probably just going to stack there, unless Ian can find a Clash of Sabers to cancel that. Scott is going to be putting a lot of pressure. He's threatening a drain of 4 next turn. And with Cad Bane and Aura, it means whatever Jedi you drop is most likely getting cleared because they're not going to have that immunity to attrition. So Ian goes through. Misses the Yoda pull, probably in hand, definitely not something you want to risk. Deploying Yoda into that could be pretty dangerous for him. And he goes and gets Luke's lightsaber. He knows it's in there this turn. And he's just going to go up and draw some cards. Definitely think draining there would have been good. Put some pressure on Scott. You know you're just going to be deploying the lightsaber and drawing, so just getting a little bit of early damage, and doesn't seem bad, especially when you're about to take a drain of 4 from Scott. And he saves 3, draws up to 15, so... and he plays out of commission. Scott grabs that, doesn't want his cards getting placed out of play. Probably a reasonable want. Don't want to start losing some of your unique characters. Yeah, and Scott pays 3 to drain for 4. Garrett loves to say you never pay 3 to drain 1, but I think draining for 4 is probably a good use of your force. We see an Anakin, Ahsoka, speak with the Jedi Council, and I don't like sand. Basically, I'll come off from reserve. Ahsoka and Anakin definitely hurt. Great characters to help clear sites. Speak, no use anymore. It's already on table. The I don't like sand definitely hurts, because as we can see in Scott's hand, Boba Fett Bounty Hunter is definitely in play. So having that on table, it protects you a little bit from a beatdown, like a Boba Fett and a Jango. Stops them from drawing 4 Destiny. Now Mace does the same thing, but maybe you want to use Mace defensively in this matchup, maybe you don't. Just nice, would have been nice to have that protection for Ian. And Scott just playing safe here. He doesn't feel a need to get too aggressive. He's just going to draw some more cards. Draw some more Bounty Hunters. None Shall Pass definitely could be an interesting card if it comes down to it. Stops Ian from deploying Rebels to his Jabba's Palace locations. Scott, plays Masterful Move combo to go get the Monarch. Ian having more than 12 cards, currently susceptible to this. Now, the interesting thing, during this time, there wasn't a shield to protect for Monarch. There is now. So if Ian wants to protect some of those cards in hand, he can use one of his 4 shield pulls to go get it. Because of another change, during this time he used to have to specify which 15 shields he wanted to bring. So maybe you weren't worried about playing against numbers. You wouldn't bring your Inside Serve You Well or You Cannot Hide Forever. Nowadays you get to bring all of them and choose whatever 4 you think you'll need, plus having shield pullers like the turn it off there in Scott's hand. So Ian elects not to play the shield. Oh, and he's going to try and sense it, that's why. But Scott has the control. Cancel the sense. And drop the remaining... Is it down to 8? So the remaining 5 cards from Ian's hand. That's rough. Definitely like having cards in your hand. Losing 6 of them is going to hurt. Scott plays Dark Time, activate 1. And now we see Ian pay 3 to drain 3. He's going to get some pressure on, but he's already down quite a few. And Scott just top decks here. He loses Bane Malor, Scum and Villainy, and Droideka. So definitely just a heavy heavy alien version. Ian goes to deploy Yoda again, probably just in his hand. Not really something you want to risk. Oof, and they turn it off. Ian deploys Lando in front of the Zizor Doom stack and gets to turn it off so he can't battle. Ian just goes to draw phase. I mean, even with a Hoojix, leaving Lando there feels pretty dangerous. You're not necessarily something you want to burn out this early, but if that's, if that's the play, then that's the play, I guess. So, leaves 3, activates 1. Definitely could have something like it's a trap, blast the door kids, dodge. A lot of options here. Scott's going to play Fanfare, so now he's out of shield pulls. Search the reserve deck, just see if there's anything in there. Looks like pretty basic aliens and scum, so nothing too out of the ordinary. So we'll see a boss come down, and then on top of that, a Boba Fett bounty hunter. Oof. So Luke could be facing some pressure here. So Scott battles. Ian pays 1 to retrieve 1 with the Lando, and then plays It's a Trap. So the battle will be canceled. And at this time, I don't believe there was anything in the format to cancel It's a Trap, as it's immune to sense, and cards like Vader's Anger weren't out yet. So it's a pretty strong answer to these big beatdowns. But it means Ian doesn't have any force if he has something like a Blast the Door Kid to cancel the battle with Luke. Now he could be relying on swinging and hitting a character and putting them in use pile, but as we see, Scott does have that ceasefire, so no weapons means Ian's probably losing Luke here. He's immune to less than, I believe it's 9. 7 for being alone with a lightsaber, 2 more from the bionic hands, but if Scott doesn't draw a 9 with 3 Battle Destiny, that would be rough. So he plays a Dark Time, cycle a card, activate 1 force. He'll battle here. Yep, we see the ceasefire. He loses Lathe from reserve deck and another masterful move. So no weapons. He's currently down a power, and Scott is up 2 Battle Destiny and a hidden weapons on top of it. Oof. So 4, I believe that'll make Luke hit. So no matter what, Luke will die this battle. No worries about cracking immunity now. It does not make him forfeit 0, but could still be bad. And he uses Luke's bionic hand to exchange Hancho and the Falcon with It's a Trap. So Scott draws Jodocast for the first Battle Destiny. Piece 60 for the second. He's only at 5. He draws a 5 for the third one, so it'll be 10. Ian draws a 2. He doesn't take any overflow. And yep, and there's the Lando. So Scott will have to lose at least one of those characters. Could look for the potential counter beat. Ian could, but one of the beauties of that site is he can't hit Bosk and make him forfeit 0, because if Bosk gets hit, then the site will just make him go to use pile instead of still being at the site. Another one of those changes that we see in this format during the time Luke's bionic hand, as many times as you wanted per game, you could exchange a card in hand with an interrupt and lost pile. Now it's just once per game. One of the more minor changes, but definitely does shake up the deck building during this time, or in this tournament at least. So now Scott's on the 7 side. He'll be able to continue tracking cards and peeking at the top card of his reserve deck, just because Luke's no longer on table. It does mean he'll also be able to start doing more damage. Scott just draws 1. Got a couple of bounty hunters, a couple of options here, depending on how Ian wants to spend this turn. I don't think there's going to be a lot of space in this game. Scott hasn't played Presence on Coruscant yet, and he might have already lost a ship. And with Han chewing the Falcon and Luke in Red 5, it definitely could just be something he doesn't really want to mess with. So he'll use the Lost Part of Speak with the Jedi Council, deploy Mace from reserve deck, deploy Mace's hand, and he'll go to battle. Scott plays Stunning Leader, so he'll exclude everyone. And Ian doesn't have a force to spend to keep Lando alive, so it'll just be Mace in front of Zizor, Cad Bane, and Aura Singh. And Yoda, who got barriered, in front of Bosk at the Naboo generator core. And Ian loses R2 and Red 5 and Sense from reserve deck to cycle the Lando. So we see Ian lose a Blast the Door kit from reserve deck. Definitely would be good this turn, stop him from taking too much overflow here at the JCC. We see Forlum with Concussion Rifle come down. That'll cancel Mace's game text, and no escape to get that Stunning Leader back. Scott is just in pretty great control of this game right now. Hard for Ian to break through with some of this evasion and stuff like that. So cancel Mace's game text, no immunity to attrition, but Cad could have also got him there, so extra power, extra forfeit. Mace will swing at Zizor. Draws a 1 for the first one. Uh-oh. And a Jedi Lev will take Mace into hand. Still a 1 though, so 2 will miss. And he'll draw a 3, so that'll barely get there. If Scott had still had that Dark Time, he would be able to reduce it by 1 and make it a miss. But Zizor's hit, forfeit 0, which means Ian might be able to get another 2 guys with a Battle Destiny here. And flip him back to the 0 side. Scott draws that 4. He'll be up 21 power. Ian draws another 5, so it's 11 power. So I believe it's Mace and 2. If Mace still forfeits for 9. But Scott has to lose someone with 5 forfeit, and losing Zizor flips him back to the 0 side. So, interestingly enough, looks like it's because of a revert. Scott did not use Aura's text to steal the lightsaber from Mace, but I assume Ian wanted to lose things in a different order, and Scott accepted the revert knowing, or chose not to steal a lightsaber knowing he was going to accept a revert. So, nice gentleman's play by Scott. Players have definitely gotten better over the past however many years about accepting reverts, especially if the state of the game doesn't change too much, which I think is better for the community and better for the game. So same destinies are drawn. Scott draws a 4. Ian should draw a 5. And it is Lando again. And I assume Ian just wants to lose it in a different order so that he can try and retrieve something. So he loses a life debt, and he loses a Qui-Gon, and then the Mace, and then Aura will steal that lightsaber. So Aura Singh with Mace's lightsaber and Forlom at the JCC. Bosk is, however, still stuck on Naboo. And we'll see moves over to the 2-2 site. And we're just going to see Scott draw some cards here. Unfortunately, Scott is pretty low on characters right now. He'll draw into the Joss, and he'll get another Boba Fett bounty hunter. So does have the potential to be able to go at Ian if he comes down with some guys next turn. There we see Deba Billaba. It's a pretty unseen card. We'll see Mace deployed in front of Bosk. Sorry about that, folks. Looks like I had some issues on my side. So Ian initiates a battle with Mace. Scott plays Stunning Leader, cancels the battle. We'll see Deba peek at the top card of his reserve deck and leave it there. Forlom will cancel Deba's game text. Interestingly enough, Aura is going to swing Mace's lightsaber here. I believe it's a 4, but I don't know if Scott knows the next card after that, so. As long as it is a 4 or higher, it'll be hit, which isn't a guarantee. These alien decks have pretty low destiny. Yep, there it is, there's the 1. So it'll miss, but Depa's immune to nothing right now because her game text got cancelled, so the 6 will mean that the site is going to get cleared. I believe, are forfeits for 5. Oh, 3. The virtual must forfeit for 5 then. Scott draws a 5, so no overflow, just going to be sight clear for sight clear here, which works well for Ian. His characters are supposed to be more efficient, so being able to clear 2 for 1 does mean that hopefully in the long run he's able to pull out the win, but also means that he's not going to have to worry about a drain of 4 to start this turn. And Bosk is sitting in front of Mason. Could definitely be a rough turn for him. So we'll see Scott deploy the Joss Pure back to the JCC, and he'll deploy Dengar in front of Yoda, and just move Bosk over and consolidate. With no barrier, no Hujix, Gik, Scott has to play a little bit safer here, and he'll draw last card in force pile. Definitely could have considered saving one to fake out the barrier, but having that extra card in hand could be the difference between winning and losing, and that P60 is a pretty good card. So we do see Ellis and Hinther lose from hand. Ian searches his reserve deck, and it's a pretty good reserve deck, just a bunch of high destiny like light side mains left to do. Scott will shoot with Dengar. It's a miss. Not sure how many 7s he's playing, but needed a pretty lucky one to hit Yoda there. Ian is a little bit outpowered, so definitely could be peeling a couple to keep Yoda alive. Scott misses again. Getting those low destiny off the top. Just going to go to Battle Destiny. Ian draws the 5, so he's currently up 1 power, but Scott still has a Battle Destiny here. And the 0, which means Ian actually wins the battle. Doesn't have to lose anything to cover battle damage. And Scott just loses Bosk to cover the forfeit, or the attrition. Ian moves Mace over, moves Yoda over, so just swaps spots, spends some force, and goes to draw. Trying to find some more characters to help deal with the incoming damage, where he's going to take 4 at the JCC. Ouch. Definitely a good reason to play Clash. Might have been one in his reserve deck, but not being able to find it is going to hurt him. So we'll see him activate one. Scott, paying 3 to drain 4. Great use of your force, not much you can do better. We'll see Run Luke run, Luke lost, Qui-Gon, and then that Lando, another Lando lost. As Scott is just going to move Dengar over, threatening a drain of 2, but Ian can pull the light side Coward Shield. So we're going to see him place Walkwing out of play, retrieve Lando. Good character, but also just a good destiny, so could potentially help him get a beat down. Use Jedi left to go get a character back. Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight, great character. Destiny 6, really good in combat here. Scott just drawing, does now have some of those tricks to keep his characters alive. He has the barrier, he has the projective telepathy. Now he does have the Jabba's Palace, so he can start getting some of those things out. Ian pays the drain at one site. Scott loses Snuva and Ellis off top, as we see he'll barrier the Qui-Gon. Ooh, impressive, most impressive. We'll take the barrier gone, make it lost. We see Scott plays a Voyeur, selects Wisa, and finds 2 of them. He'll play it use, so Luke Skywalker and Wisa go off use pile. Qui-Gon's lightsaber comes down, as we see Ian grab the Dark Time played by Scott, and Scott projectives. This will cancel the battle. Ian doesn't have enough force left, so definitely would have been a bigger change to the game if he was able to get that battle in and get a swing through, cause a little bit of overflow. But we'll just see him draw some cards up. He'll pull the Coward Shield, so Scott can't drain at the Boss Next Chambers. But he's got some characters in hand, could definitely come down, try and put the beat squad on someone. Scott have some characters, has some interrupts in that reserve deck. And we'll see Boba Fett Bounty Hunter come down. No reaction from Ian's, no barrier or perimeter scan to stop Fett. And we'll see Johto Cast come down as well. So it'll be 3 Battle Destiny, and Ian dodges. Doesn't want to deal with those two. Don't blame him. That's a scary stack. And at this point, going into Ian's turn 8, Scott has 20 face down, Ian has 14, so life force advantage in Scott's favor. So Ian activates everything. He'll drain. He has 14 face down, so he'll drain for 2 at the core. Monarch and Zizor go off. Monarch from hand, Zizor from reserve deck. Yoda will drain at the generator. Reese and Projective go off the top. And I assume, yep, Qui-Gon will drain for 2 at the city. And he'll lose the Zuckuss from hand, giving up on that Space Stream, and the Voyeur from reserve deck. So pretty overall even game right now. We'll see Qui-Gon move back to the JCC. Ian just pick up a couple more cards. Going into Scott's turn 9, life force down is 16 for Scott, 12 for Ian, but Ian has 7 in hand, 4 for Scott, so a difference of 1 going into Darkseid's turn. So definitely anyone's game still. 1 beatdown or 1 battle or just 1 set of drains could be the difference between moving on or going home. We'll see Scott activate his 13. He'll play Sith Fury. I would assume this is to go get Zizor. Start getting damage, start tracking again. Yep, there he is. And this will also get him to a second battleground, so he can start training at the Boss Nass Chambers if he chooses to. Yep. He goes to battle phase. He'll peek at the top 3, 2, 5, 2 in that order. He'll battle at the JCC. We see Ian play Dodge again. Definitely a great card to get value out of, not taking any battle damage, not letting him clear you, forcing Fett Bounty Hunter to continue being on table so that he can, Scott still has to pay the 2 if he wants to keep him alive. So we'll go into Ian's turn. Oh, and he skips draining, deploys Luke in front of Zizor for 8, and then gets None Shall Pass, so he'll have to spend all 8, and then take Luke back into hand. Only 4 force left to spend, not much he can do here. Maybe move in front of Dengar, or just draw some cards. He'll move Qui-Gon back in front of the JCC. I'm assuming he's got a Blast the Door Kit or a Dodge. And draws 1 card, saves 2, activates 1, so he'll have 3. So see Scott does a damage with his objective. Now that he's on the 7 side, Zizor's back. Pay to drain for 2 at the Boss Nass Chambers. And Ian loses an It's a Trap from hand. Interesting. This time Scott has 5-1-5 in the reserve deck, so definitely better Destiny, definitely has a better chance. And Ian plays another It's a Trap. So Ian's down. He's played, 3 It's a Trap have been seen. A couple of dodges. Might be running out of evasion tricks here. Scott leaves 5, pays 2 for Super Fett, and Ian activates everything. Definitely no potential to battle. As we see, Scott has a 2 on top, so could definitely play this Ellis this turn if he wants to. As we see Luke come down to Jabba's palace, so Qui-Gon moves away. Luke will flip Scott back to that 0 side, so it'll take away damage, but he can still drain for 4 at the JCC. And Mace moves in front of Dengar, so no drain at the chambers. Yoda moves in to the core, so if Scott moves in, he will be moving into a battle. So you see there's Scott activates 1, Ian plays the best shuffles his deck, so no more tracking. And yep, that's what we'll see. Pays 3 to drain for 4. Loses a Lando, a Qui-Gon, a Wisa, and an out-of-commission Transmission Terminator from reserve deck. And Ina go play the Ellis Hellrot. Draws a 3. And he moves his stack from the JCC to Jabba's Palace. So looking to clear Luke here. Put more pressure on with Sizor and the pings. Does give up 3 damage by doing so, though. So he'll go deploy a location and he hits. Oh, so now he only has 2 in reserve deck and it's a 1 and a 5. It will crack Luke, but definitely hoping not to have done that. And an on the edge by Ian. What a play. No barrier, no gick. Doesn't want to risk it. He will play on the edge to place Luke out of play. I guess it's just lost. My apologies. Which does flip Scott back, but that was Scott's battle, so he won't get any extra use out of it. And it's a 5-1 on reserve deck. Play at Dark Time, pays 2 for it. But that means there is now a 1 on reserve deck, and he can use Ellis Hellrot and transit some of those people over, or use it on Dengar so that Dengar's no longer stuck at a 2-0 where Mace can beat the brakes off him. And that's what he'll do. He'll pay 1, and he'll Ellis Dengar over to the JCC. And Ian has no cards in hand, so no way for him to get a potential beatdown on a guy who doesn't draw Battle Destiny because he's got nobody who can do it. Scott does have Coward out, which means he won't be able to drain at the city. He'll pay to drain at the core and probably just move some guys around. Loses Ellis Hellrot and Accelerate from reserve deck. This game's close enough. I understand not wanting to lose from hand, but does give him some options to potentially beat down on one of these guys if thinks he can cut the diff down a little bit, thinks he can track a shot, whatever it may be. So Scott just activates everything. He can pay 6 to do 2, gets the ping with the objective, and then probably just going to move some characters around. No reason to risk leaving them in front of a guy and get them beat up. So we'll see out of commission go. And on top of that, a Lando. And then Scott will put a character down, peek at the force pile, some interrupts, and Django at the bottom. So we'll see presence. That'll be on Jabba's Palace. Just make that a drain of 2 for him. We'll see Scott deploy P59 in front of Mace. Stop a drain of 2. Oh, he's actually going to move him back to the non-battleground. Makes sense why Scott didn't lose any of those cards from hand. He had a plan to use everything in his hand, so now Ian will pay 3 of his 5 to drain for 2. Scott will lose 2 off the top and win by 11. As Ian is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, and then cannot afford to drain. Yep, he's just going to draw those last 2. Scott is going to drain him out. So it looks like it'll be 11, force win. Scott has 31 in lost, and Ian will have 42. Yep, as he loses Han from reserve deck, Cald from reserve deck, and Biss Shuffle combo from reserve deck. Okay, so that's game 1. And we'll go into game 2. So now Scott will be playing light side into Ian's dark side with a 11 force buffer. So we'll start the game. And it looks like Scott is going with TRM again. This is what he played during day 1. So he'll just be running that back, probably with some modifications, but yeah, definitely with some modifications. Running security control instead of whatever he ran during day 1. And yep, there he is again, Scott with his Grimtosh. Man, he loves those Dejarics. Starts TRM, so he will start the game, and has a pretty good opening hand. Has both Akbar and Home 1. Doesn't have to dig for that. And the boss has Chambers, so he'll get some more extra activation, and he will go download the Lars Moisture Farm. Now he did go first, so he does get the extra activation from Endor, since Endor's shield isn't on table yet, but that'll most likely go away after Ian downloads it on his turn. Scott's just gonna go to draw. Finds Luke, finds the home one War Room. Wow. Finds a Wisa and finds a Nabrun. Bottom card is an Escape Pod. Man, Scott really does love his Dejarix. So see the Death Star 2 from Ian. Desperate Counter. Now this isn't one you see too often, but this will allow him to download both Imperial Arrest Order and Combat Response, versus what you normally see with TTO, which is just doing Combat Response to get the matching ships. This will also give him a Docking Bay Bullet. Yep, and there's the Imperial Arrest Order Secret Plans combo. So in case Scott wants to retrieve, he's going to have to pay one. No walkling, so don't know how much there will be, but better safe than sorry. And there's the Endor Shield. That'll cut off Scott's activation, so he'll be back down to 8. And Ian with the Moff Gergerod, who's going to help him start building. So this is going to be TRM into Endor Ops or TTO in this case. So big Death Star damage versus light side mains. Also pretty standard. I played TTO for my dark side. Really liked how it felt. Just overall very, very strong, very smooth. And Ian did open hand one of the sectors, so it means it's going to be, assuming he doesn't miss the epic event, a turn to full complete Death Star, which is super, super strong. It'll mean he gets to add Battle Destiny. He'll get extra direct damage, and it'll put the pressure on Scott really, really early. So we see Scott deploys the War Room, deploys the Docking Bay, and he'll deploy Luke, who, interestingly enough, deploys -1 to the Lars Moisture Farm, because this is the non-virtual. And we'll see he'll take use of I Must Be Allowed to Speak. Whenever you deploy Luke, Leia, Chewie, or Lando, you get to take any one card out of your use pile into hand. So a lot of versatility, a lot of strengths from deploying your characters there. And also it's a drain of 2 with Luke's lightsaber versus a drain of 2 at the Docking Bay. So not too much of a difference regardless. We'll see Scott, he'll play Were You Looking For Me, get 3PO with his parts showing. Pretty big staple in this format, just super duper versatile, helps you cycle through some of those interrupts you don't want to play or don't want to use yet. Scott, not getting TRM'd for the most part, able to go through, get some of those locations, those non-battlegrounds, limit himself from being stuck without too much activation. You see Ian does go get that third, gets the super laser, must have drawn into the third, third sector. We'll see he plays something special, the Phantom Menace, and there is combat response for his matching ships. Ooh. So see Maul with double-bladed lightsaber, pays 1 to battle, has to pay 1 for each swing. So if he misses one swing, he still has to pay for the other one. So there's a command. Luke's defense value 6, the Wisa makes it a 7, so Scott has to draw 4. Ooh, that'll miss. Oh. I'm sorry. I forgot the game text on the Lars Moisture Farm. Adds 1 to each weapon destiny. So Maul effectively drew a 9, not a 7, which that is going to hit. We'll see Scott swing back. Maul here is a defense value 8. Oh. And even with Luke Rebel Scout making that +1, he would need a 6. And he won't be able to get it. So Arc Stuff and the JCC 5 won't get him there, even without the Phantom Menace. So Ian is fully immune, and defense value +2. Draws the 5, so he'll be 12. Unless Scott draws a 6, Ian won't be losing anyone or anything here. He's in a pretty good position. This is the kind of thing you need to happen if you lose game 1. Scott draws a 5, so that'll tie. He thankfully doesn't have to take any overflow. But Ian's pretty happy with the outcome of that battle. One of the hard things about TTO is being able to keep the ground sight in order to get free drains from battle plan, but Maul's going to help him do that. Now, we do see Scott has another Luke in hand, and we saw when his use pile pull that he does have a Luke's lightsaber at the bottom of his reserve deck, so if he chooses, I'm sorry, he has no Saitor. He has no way to go down and get that. What we will see, Scott deployed just Han with Blaster Pistol. Oh, and we're going to see a Chewbacca as well, so he'll get a use pile pull, and he gets the speak, but he knows the zero's in there, so he can go get it out. He initiates battle for free with battle plan and draw their fire, so he'll be able to battle. He'll get a shot, but most likely the 2 battle destiny, regardless, will be enough to clear. And he even chooses not to shoot, which I get. If there's no 6 in there, there's no reason to. So Maul will swing at Han. Han is effectively defense value 1, so unless he drew 0-1 or 0-0, Han was getting hit here. And Ian did save Force, so if he has a Sorry, he would be able to use it, but not a URB since he doesn't have 3 Force. 2 for the interrupt, 1 from battle plan combo. So he swings at Chewie, draws an Emperor. That's a 7, so that'll hit no matter what this is. Yeah, if you're Ian, you like to see that. Draw a high destiny, get enough to hit, and then draw a low one so that you don't have to draw that for battle destiny. Ian will hit both, but Scott has no zeros left, so most likely this will just be a clear from both sides, unless Scott starts off by drawing really well. 5, that'll put him at 15 power, and there's the 1. So 16 power, Maul covers, I believe, 8. 7. Ooh, so Ian draws a 2 and he takes 0. And there's the 7. Almost wins the battle, actually. Pretty nice feeling if you're Ian. You have the Maul that you can track, but forcing out 2 of Scott's mains and a Luke and a lightsaber this early on in the game. Definitely exactly what you wanted to see. Interesting that he didn't deploy the 3rd sector and went and got the super laser. Didn't upload it with Jaredrod either, so might still have it and just didn't have TTO and didn't want to deploy it. Or goes in and gets it now. Interesting. I guess didn't want the turn 2, wanted the turn 3. So might have been drawing for that battleground system too, didn't want to put it out too early and give Scott a chance. This will mostly Piet go down to the docking bay. This is probably going to get Mergic, who's going to help him get his system. Oh. But he just gets Mergic and moves over to the docking bay. Interesting. Even if the system wasn't in there, I definitely would have considered deploying Mergic, just because you're not going to activate everything, so you don't risk activating the system next turn. But he has 5, and Scott played Monarch last game. Definitely Grimtosh was a risk. So 14 in hand. I'll have to drop 6 of them to get down to 8. Hopefully one of those wasn't Mergic. If it was, Ian might be behind a lot now. So we see Scott plays Escape Pod. Ian grabs that. No Escape Pod combo to reduce the TTO damage, but having a trackable 6 is really nice. And this is where 3PO is going to be so helpful with the Escape Pod being grabbed and cycle at 6 without having to pay extra and get it taken up. So just relieves a little bit of pressure for him. As we see, Scott's just going to draw. Draws up to 14. He'll be safe from the shield. Has the Sense. Has Luke. Has Mace. Interestingly enough, though, this is not the Mace you think it is. This one allows him to do extra damage if Amidala is at a battleground site and Maul is not on table. So a couple of Padmes in hand, who is a persona of Maul, could definitely get some extra direct damage. Might be what he needs to get him over the hump to get this win. As we'll see, the Super Laser Mark III. Now this is the home 1 killer. During battle, fire at a capital starship, you draw 3 destiny. Home 1 was only defense value 8. if you can't draw a 9 with 3 Destiny, you are in for some rough battling. As we see, Ian flashes Baron Fell to go get a ship, and he misses. Also, just been using him to check what's in the reserve deck, so he can use the force push if he needs. And there's the Kashyyyk. As we're just going to see Ian deploy Kashyyyk, move the Death Star to Kashyyyk, and start drawing. Ian taking this really slow, a little bit slower than I think I would if I needed to win by 11, or I win by 12. You know, it's not having to win by 30, but winning by 12 with a deck like TTO that puts so much on table, definitely not an easy task like that. Definitely something to be wary of and something to consider. So we'll see Mace come down. We'll see Twas Ka come down too. Wouldn't just leave him alone. Definitely a little bit nervous. Yep, and there we go. We'll see the Padme too. No Luke. Might be trying to bait out the Maul, but even with the Hujix, pretty vulnerable. And we'll see him cycle the Bish Shuffle combo. Ian saved quite a few force. Scott did as well, cycling some of those high interrupts. So Ian actually didn't activate. So he'll just have Major Mianda and Emperor's Personal Shuttle stay at Kashyyyk with Ozzel aboard. Interestingly enough, Scott did not play the free shield to make Ian pay 2 for the Emperor, but at this point in the game, not sure how much it really mattered. It just would have stopped Ian from drawing 2 more cards, and he already has a lot of control over that Kashyyyk system. He adds one with the Emperor, or with the Emperor's Shuttle, and he adds one with the Capacitors. So drawing 3 Battle Destiny. Super Laser will stop Home 1 from dealing too much damage, and Saith 1 will allow him to shoot at starships during his move phase, so not have to risk battling if there's someone he's a little bit nervous about. So we'll see 3PO put down a card, put a card back. Scott able to activate down, so he's, I believe it's 5/5. I don't know what the top card is, but we'll see Mace do 2 ping damage, and we see it's a 5/4/5. Wisa Blasted Deflection and the Bish Shuffle. And see him choose not to drain. He'll just redeploy Luke. Goes to deploy Corn. Chooses not to. Oh, that'll go to the bunker. Suspends Endor Shield, but that's not really too important right now. Scott's already activating most of his deck. Now we see Lando to the farm. This will give him a use pile pull. And there it is. There is Luke's lightsaber, so it'll be an extra drain now. Scott is threatening on his next turn. Drains of 1, 2, 3, 4, and a ping of 2 with Mace. Ian this turn is going to be threatening a drain of 2, and a ping of 2 from that thing's operational. Lost, we shall double our efforts, so might not be able to get that extra 1. Right now, 4-6 in Scott's favor, but anything could happen. Ian probably isn't just going to sit here, draw some cards, and take his damage. He needs to do more than that to win. So we'll see him only activate 14, saving 4. To me, that definitely screams Maul with double-bladed, as we see Phantom Menace, Saber 1, Phantom Menace, and Imperial Command. So definitely some pretty good destinies. He still has that Baron, so he can go get that Saber 1 and not risk drawing Baron for Battle Destiny. Or, sorry, not drawing the Saber 1. And that's exactly what he'll do. Probably to Endor. Yep, so now he's threatening 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. And it's going to be really hard to attack either of those locations. As we see Vader come down to the farm. Ooh. So Lando will be able to retrieve 1, but with 4/7/7 in reserve deck, he's going to get choked out. and Padme, Luke are already committed to the other side. It's going to be hard for him to get rid of Lando here. Or for him to get rid of Vader, I mean. If he redeploys Lando, he gets choked. And it looks like he only has about 2 or 3 different personas of characters in the reserve deck to come down and battle with if he's able to hit one of those off the 3PO. This version of TTO that Ian has built, and we see actually 2 more Mauls with double-bladed in reserve deck. This TTO is just so hard for light side ground mains to attack, and wow, there's a Leia. We know the reserve deck is 4 and a 7, so definitely could be dangerous for Ian. Misses the choke, could lose his ground, definitely not ideal. There we go, we'll see home 1 for 13 to Endor, and Akbar for another 3. And we'll even see Lando Calrissian, so Scott must have seen a gick in that reserve deck to try this, thinking he can just end the game here. He had no help yet. So see, Scott draws a 1. Oh boy. Now if Ian doesn't have the gick, this could be the game. But just pointing out one of the things we talked about earlier, Ian only has 22 cards left face down. Oh jeez, what awful draws from Scott. 151 is just abysmal. So he'll spin 6. That'll be a 12 total power. Loses Baron, loses the ship. No overflow as... Oh, sorry, he'll draw 7. But Scott is still immune to that. Still wants to lose Lando. Doesn't want to have to lose 2 to cycle him. So, Ian will get free drains this turn. And Vader's really at no risk. Scott will get free drains as well, but... I just don't know if it'll be enough. And there's the Princess Leia. That'll give him 2 Battle Destiny against Vader. Ian's reserve deck is 4-Lum Maul Emperor. Activates the rest of it. He's going to do 6 damage this turn, but with only 21 face-down cards, he can afford to play or lose 9 of them before he is looking at lost piles, and after that he's looking at losing the game. So see, Scott loses Were You Looking For Me, Ahsoka, Wisa, and Luke from reserve deck. Still has another 2 pings. Looks like Qui-Gon and Weapon Love. So with just about Anakin and Leia left as the only character personas, there's not a lot that Scott has to go after Vader, but we'll see. Oh, so we see Mara and Superfett come down to the docking bay, and then Piet and Jar move on over. So Scott definitely has the potential to get some stuff through this turn. He's got the Leia's blaster rifle to make a character lost. He's got Daughter Skywalker to cancel game text. He's got Luke's lightsaber that swings at +1 to each, and he's got Padme to add a Destiny Attrition. Scott might be able to pull through and clear the docking bay this turn. And if he is, I mean, he's able to drain for 2, and oh, so Scott just leaves 1, which tells me he is going after Vader. We see Onyx 2 and Mace will do another ping of 2 here, and looks like both Phantom Menaces, 1 from hand, 1 from reserve deck, as there is the 6. Scott deploys Leia, probably going to deploy the gun as well. Draw a 6, shoot Vader. All the fun in games. And we see Scott use pile pull with Leia, gets Wisa. Interesting not to choose the Blaster Deflection, but I guess it might help protect your characters at the Endor docking bay. So you see Scott battles, uses 1 to fire, draws the 6, that'll make Vader dead and lost. So Scott loses the drain of 2, but he'll still get free damage, so he'll get the free drain of 2 in space and the free ping of 2 with TTO. Does only have 15 total cards down, so Scott put on the pressure exactly where he needed to. Has 4 in reserve deck, 9 force, couple cards in hand. We see makes Ian activate 1, shuffles a reserve deck. Ian chooses to grab. Love that. Don't give Scott free cards. Jared Gerard will peak. He has 3, 4, 5. So not the best. As we see, Scott draws the 6 that he has tracked, and Ian activates down to the 4. So not battling on ground. I wouldn't either. That's like asking for a beatdown. We'll see Scott gets drained for 2 and 2. I guess pinged for 2 and drained for 2. He loses a sense. Speak from force pile. Neighbor leads from hand and out of commission from force pile. Ooh. There's the no escape. That'll get him his Vader back. 4 is not enough to choke Leia. Oh, but there's Darth Maul. And Ian concedes. He only has 14 total cards. He was going to take a drain of 3. 1 more card from hand or lost, and Ian would have lost the match. So nicely done. Hats off to Scott. Scott will move on to the top 4. And Scott, funny enough, is the only member from the 1 through 4 seeds who will move on, as Joe Horby, Timo Duso, and myself all lost in our top 8 matches. That is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me tonight, or whatever time you are watching this. It's been a pleasure, and hope to cover the rest of these games as we move forward in the top 4 and then eventually into the finals. Enjoy your night.